Hello and welcome back to another episode of this week's watches, and today we have 11 watches on the table for you, varying in age and price and all the usual stuff you come to expect from us here at Kibble Watches. But for the most part it's a relatively affordable drop, so I try and, as you guys and girls have probably noticed, I try and fluctuate between a drop of loads of very big heavy hitters, crazy pieces, and then drops like this where they're much more attainable for most people, and just sort of the stuff a lot of you have come to know me for. Such as Seikos and really interesting vintage pieces. So that is what we've got for you today. Now I do want to start this video off by just apologising if I sound a little snuffled and all that sort of stuff, hay fever, and also may have had a few too many drinks, but that doesn't matter, that wasn't the cause, of course. Now a lot of you know what's about to come next. A thank you to every single one of you for another great week. I do have a few people say I say it every single video, and I do, because at the end of the day I am incredibly thankful. You guys and girls are what are making this dream of mine become a reality. It's just amazing to see week on week that you guys and girls are sending in more watches, you're purchasing more watches. It's just getting busier and busier every single week, so I do thank you all for that. So please do keep that up, and I am truly thankful. And before we dive into the watches on the table, let's have a look at what's on wrist. I am actually wearing my personal Fears Brunswick Brown, limited edition of 5 watches altogether. That is a true limited edition, and I've got it paired on this really amazing suede from the Strap Tailor. Those of you who know me know I like the Strap Tailor straps. I've got quite a few of them, and I highly recommend you check them out if you're wanting something a bit more bespoke, a bit more to your specific standard and taste. But if you're not wanting to spend that kind of money on a strap, I understand. There is Watch Gecko as well, which offer great choices. Now that all that is out the way, let's take a look at some of the watches on the table, and I think we're going to start up here with this awesome Glycine Airman. So the first watch we are looking at is a beast at 46mm. This is definitely not for the people who like small watches, because the size of this is huge. But it's a really interesting Glycine Airman 17. 24-hour world timer, and the specific reference, as it's commonly known, is GL293. There is a longer reference which you can see on the website, but this one is a 24-hour watch. Now what that means is it's not just got a scale of 24 hours. When you tell the time right now, typically you'd be looking at sort of 10 past 10, right? Or if it was in the evening, 10 past 10 as well. Whereas right now what this is actually showing is 10 past 8 PM, as you can see, because it's a true 24 hours. So the hour hand only goes round the dial once every 24 hours as opposed to twice like a traditional watch. So it does take a little while to get used to telling the time and seeing all that, but you can definitely get used to it nice and quick. We've had a couple of 24-hour watches and we've got some customers who own them as well. It does take that little moment extra, but once you've got the hang of it, it's all good. So you can check everything whilst in this position. You know, you can unscrew the crown, change the date, change the time, do all that kind of stuff, and you've got the counter of the hour hand, which doubles up as almost a 24-hour time zone, so it can show you the opposite as well. Now if you unscrew this one here, what it does, it's got little teeth that lock in the bezel, as you can see here, so it gives you the ability to then move the bezel as you wish, as you see. So you can change it to a different time zone and then screw it back down, and then that bezel is not going to move. So that's how you can track different time zones and everything like that. When you flip it over, you will see a automatic movement inside. So inside here is the automatic ETA 2893-2, and this watch is from May 2018. It does come with its full box and paperwork. It's got its original buckle and its original strap in the box as well, but we put it on this new black strap just to make it a bit nicer, because the other strap was quite worn as well. But a really interesting watch, you know, very well looked after over its time. It's definitely been worn, which is good to see, but as I said, at 46mm, it's not for the faint of hearted. But let's show it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go. Now I'll be honest, on my wrist this is too big. I have a 6 3/4 inch wrist, so if you've got my size wrist and you love big watches, then this is perfect. But if you are like me and wear smaller watches, this may be too big for you. But if you have a bigger wrist and you can support it, this is perfect. So it's 46mm by 56mm lug to lug, only 11mm thick. So quite thin considering those dimensions, and you've got 24mm lug width. So you can see we paired it on this nice black. Endless options there in terms of straps. You know, a big NATO probably would make it a bit more comfortable for most people, but definitely one worth checking out on the website if you like your big watches. From there, let's bring it down to this incredible Amiga Deville in 9-carat gold with its box and paperwork. Who doesn't love a vintage watch with its box and papers? It's always nice to have. It's definitely not the make or break of a watch, but when you have it, it's a nice addition, that's for sure. So don't ever, in my opinion, try and just get a watch because it has box and papers. Look at everything else first and foremost, as you would normally. Condition, originality, all those kind of things, and if it happens to have its box and papers, that is a nice plus, and that's exactly what this is. This is a really gorgeous Amiga Deville, as you can see, cased in 9-carat yellow gold. That is solid 9-carat yellow gold. Monocoque case, meaning everything comes out the front. There is no actual physical case back that comes on and off. So you have to go through the crystal and everything like that, but a really, really stunning example. Lovely dial. Just very, very well preserved over the years, and that's a testament to the fact it still has its box and papers. So this is a reference 1665020, and inside here is the automatic Amiga caliber 565. Now the receipt dates the watch to May 1972, and the 31 million serial number dates the watch to 1969. So what that means is this watch was actually produced in 1969, but didn't sell at a retailer until May of 1972. This wasn't uncommon back in this time. You know, it wasn't like today where Rolexes, they're produced and pretty much sold immediately. You know, this was a different time, and still to this day, there's many watches that can take a couple of years to sell at retail. They'll be sitting in backstock. They could be, you got to think as well, they would have had multiple of these, so they'll have one in the window, and maybe they sell that one and replace it from the back stock. So let's say they've got 3 in back stock, 3 boxes like so. They take that first box to then put that watch in the window, so then this one's gone. Let's say this one is the 3rd box at the back. They then get replenishment stock, and they put that new replenishment stock at the front again. So this one at the back is never really going to get to, because there's always one being replaced. If that makes any sense whatsoever, it probably doesn't. It made sense in my head, so sorry if that ramble has left you a bit bewildered, but that can be an explanation for why it can take so long sometimes. I've seen it back when I used to work retail. But there you go. So 1969 based on serial production, sold May 1972. So you've got two dates to play there with. And this is another thing when people are looking for birth year watches, let's say, you know, what do you date this at? Do you date it, are you going based on production, so 1969, or are you going based on sale, which is 1972? In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. Buy the watch you like, not because of the year or because it has box and papers. But let's show this on wrist. And here we are on my wrist. I absolutely love this kind of size personally. This is 34mm by 40mm lug to lug, only 10.5mm thick and 18mm lugs. Endless strap options at 18. We've got it paired on this quite unusual sort of textured alligator, I guess, if you will, but it's not alligator. Either way, really cool watch and very good for the money, so go check it out. From there, keep it in the same sort of style. Let's have a look at this Chronometer certified Satina with its buckle. If this watch said Amiga on the dial, it would be at least double the price in my opinion. And this is a Satina Chronometer, and it's pretty much competing with the likes of the Amiga Constellation. There's a couple of Constellations that actually look very similar. And as I said, if it was an Amiga, you'd be looking at a hell of a lot more than this one is for what you get. But this is a really, really cool 1966 Satina automatic chronometer. The reference is 5801-200. And inside this screw-down caseback, which is very, very nice, is a Satina chronometer caliber 25-651, which is a very reliable, very well made, very beautifully finished movement as well from Satina. At this period, you can see really nice condition on this. Absolutely gorgeous silver dial with those indices and the date over there. Just a really, really gorgeous, simple, clean look with its signed crown. It even comes with its original buckle. Unfortunately, the taper of the straps are quite different compared to what they used to be, so this one doesn't fit at the moment. But if you get a custom strap made, you can always put that on as well. But a hell of a lovely watch, and from a very interesting period, you know, 1960s. It was this weird limbo part for watches where they were not too dissimilar from the 1950s, maybe a bit bigger, and they weren't the craziness of the 1970s. Some of my favourite watches are from the 1960s, very clean, very classic. But let's show this one on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go, slightly bigger than the Amiga Deville we just looked at. This one is 35mm by 41.5mm. Only 11mm thick and 18mm lugs. Again, endless options. We paired it on this sort of grey mock croc because it looks pretty good. I think it suits the design very, very well, but you could pair it on a brown, on suede, on all sorts. This watch really will work on most straps, so don't be afraid to purchase this one and get a load of straps and have fun. Now on to this really stunning Tudor Oyster with its box and a later period Tudor bracelet. Next up we have a really, really lovely Tudor Oyster from circa 1958 to 59. It's an Oyster Royal, or Royale as some people call it, 34mm, and the reference is 7934. This one does come with its box as well. The hinges are unfortunately broken, but it just looks really good. And one thing to point out, the crystal has got what we call hazing, which is when an original crystal has been on there so long it starts to get some sort of imperfections and sort of micro cracks and scratches. It doesn't affect the integrity too much, especially on a watch like this that you're not taking anywhere near water, so please don't. But it's just sort of in tune with the originality. We can swap it out if you prefer. We've kept it this way, so just let us know if you are purchasing this and you'd prefer a new crystal in. We can get that sorted. Now, another thing to touch on, the dial is a refinished dial, an early refinished dial, probably from sort of the 1990s, early 2000s, so it's even developed some of its own age already. And the hands were reloomed at some point as well. Could this have been done by Rolex? I mean, potentially. We just won't ever know, unfortunately. You can see you've got a very nice Rolex signed crown over there, and you've got a plain screw-down case back with the reference and serial number stated. And the bracelet on this is a much later period, 90s Tudor folded link, as you can see. Oyster bracelet, which is very, very nice. It fits the watch well, it looks really good, and it just goes with the overall design. And it's nice that you've got this, because we've had a couple of watches like this and we've put generic Oyster bracelets on, not from Rolex or Tudor. So the fact it's got an official Tudor one to go with it is a nice little touch. So as I said, this is 34mm. Inside here is the manually wound Tudor caliber 1156. And as I said, circa 1958 to 59, so right before the 1960s. The screw-down crown works perfectly, and that is a manually wound movement as well. And then obviously always remember to screw that crown down. You just got to catch the teeth at the right point, and then you're in. There you go. But let's show it on wrist and torque dimension. And here we go. So the bracelet on its longest point is probably a link, maybe even like a link and a half bigger than my wrist. Obviously you've got the micro adjustment on the clasp as well, so you can get a nice fit. But here we go, 34mm by 40.5mm, 10mm thick and 19mm lugs, which is why it's nice you've got that bracelet option, because 19mm is a bit awkward, and to find a bracelet that will fit it, even more difficult. So the fact you've got an original folded link Tudor bracelet is a very nice touch. So go check this one out. It's an absolute bargain for what you... Now some of you will remember this watch. This is the Squale Onda Azzurro Blue. We actually purchased it back off the gentleman who purchased it. He had a bit of a situation, needed some money, so we obviously were more than happy to help out and buy this watch back. So we're able to offer it again. Here we go. I'll try and keep this one short and sweet as we have shown this before, but this is the Squale 50 Atmos Onda Azzurro Blue. So the Azzurro is obviously for the blue of the dial, which is a really, really striking blue. You either love it or you don't. I think in the summer it is absolutely awesome, and I would personally be pairing it on some crazy straps, but it's paired on the brown at the moment, which really does tone it down and makes it very wearable. But this one is a limited edition. Inside is the ETA 2824 Elaboré, which is the higher decorated and higher finished version of the ETA 2824, which most of you will be very common with. And this is from February 2020. It does come with its full box and paperwork and everything like that, including its Squale strap, Squale buckle, and everything like that. All the good stuff. Recessed screw down crown. Just a really, really nice watch for the money. And as I said, I'm not going to speak about it too long because we have shown it before, so a lot of you will already be accustomed to it. But let's put it on wrist and talk dimensions. And here we go on wrist. So a bigger watch, but it still wears really well. It's 41.5mm by 48.5mm, so under that 50mm lug to lug I always go on about. 13mm thick and 20mm lug, so endless options on the strap. I've actually seen this on a mesh bracelet and it looks pretty cool as well, so that goes very well with that beautiful coloured dial. So go check this one out, see the details, and see what a great price it is. Now on to what's probably one of my favourite watches on the table, just because it is so unusual. It's this absolutely incredible CYMA, which is near new old stock with the most insane indices I have seen. So as I said, a favourite of mine, and I'm going to really try and capture just why, but this is a 1963 CYMA automatic Navystar blue which is near new old stock with its original CYMA sign bracelet, as you can see. The reason we call it near new old stock is because it has got a couple of marks here and there, likely from storage over the years as opposed to being heavily worn. That is something to be mentioned, but I always try and be careful saying things new old stock because some people get very sensitive and they think that means it's like fully stickered and everything like that, which a watch from 1963 to have been stored with very little marks is impressive in and of itself, but hey, always better to be safe. So inside this is a really interesting automatic CYMA caliber R804.00, and as I said, it's from circa 1963 and a specific reference is 2.804.008. Now that all that's out of the way, let me show you why I love it so much. One, it has a really interesting matte blue dial. The date is also black with the numerals slightly sort of white or silvered. And if you see those indices, they stick up like coffin markers and they poke out, and the minute hand actually goes underneath them. Let me see if I can capture this. So they actually slide underneath those indices. How crazy is that? But a really interesting design, just a really interesting watch. You can see you've got your signed crown there and the case with its all brushed finish and those sharp edges. You can even see the case back as well. The bracelet, but there we go, you can see that case back, interestingly designed. Go see the macros of this, that's where this watch really shines. Endless options on the clasp as well, which is nice, but let's show it here on my wrist. And here we go. This slightly cushioned case is really comfortable, but you got 35.5mm by 40.5mm, 11mm thick and 19mm lugs. Again, very nice that you've got this bracelet, because finding a bracelet for 19mm can be quite tricky, but you've obviously got the original CYMA one there, and you can really see those indices cast that shadow on the dial. Really cool, and the cushion case makes it definitely wear larger than those dimensions would have you believe as well. So if you like a slightly bigger watch, don't be afraid of this one. So go check it out on the website. Now let's take a look at this Mr. Jones watch, which is limited edition and unique as well. So let's take a closer look. Time for something a bit more interesting and a bit more unusual. This is a unworn Mr. Jones Vertigo by Paul Wardski. I have to absolutely forgive my butchering of the name. It's a unique watch. So the artist Paul did these very interesting dials, and he did each one slightly different. So I believe there was 100 of these made total, and each one is slightly different, so it makes it a unique watch. But let's show you how it works. So you can see you've got two discs. So as we come round, you can see you've got the hours over here and the minutes coming down. So now we're at 4:30. We're now at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and so on. Hopefully that makes nice sense. Obviously with this design, it's not the easiest thing in the world to tell the time on, but that wasn't really the point or the purpose of this watch. It was supposed to be something a bit more different, a bit more unusual, and that is exactly what Mr. Jones tend to do. Really interesting case design with these wire twisted lugs, quartz movement inside as well. But just a really interesting watch. The movement is actually a 513 Ronda quartz, so actual Swiss, and it's from 2021. But let's show it on wrist, talk dimensions. If you want to know a bit more, head over to our website or their website. They've got a very good write-up about this watch. And here we go on my wrist. So it is a very comfortable watch at 37.5mm by 46.5mm, only 10.5mm thick and 18mm lugs. This is a great watch for him or for her, really. I know a couple of women who have Mr. Jones watches, and quite a few guys as well, so go check them out. They really are great value for money and a lot of fun to get something quite unique that you're not going to see around. And one for the ladies or the gentleman who likes a smaller watch, we have this beautiful 90s Gucci tank. Now, I can already feel some of you saying, why on earth is James selling a Gucci watch? Well, let me clarify. So Gucci back in the 90s were very well made Swiss watches. Not to say they aren't now, because they are, again, still Swiss made, but back in the 90s they were just doing interesting, clean, simple designs for the most part, made very well over in Switzerland, and this is exactly one of those watches. You can see you've got a really interesting all black dial with just Gucci and its logo stated with those nice sword hands, and then you've got the bezel which actually has the Roman numerals for the time. So really nice simple design, Gucci sign crown, snap-on caseback which has their Gucci logo as well. Do see the macros because that's quite an interesting little logo there. But it's just a nice looking watch. It's nothing too crazy. The reference is 4200M and it's an ETA quartz 980003 and it dates from the 1990s. I mean, as I said, it is a ladies' watch, but I could imagine quite a few guys actually wearing this as well. But let me show you on my wrist to give you a point of reference. So here we are. It sort of wears like the early Musty Cartiers, so the slightly smaller tanks. But it's 24.5mm by 32mm, 5mm thick, so super thin, and 18mm lugs. 18mm lugs really do help with the size of the watch. It makes it feel like it is a bit bigger, and it gives it that bigger wrist presence as well. But as I said, perfect for him or for her, so go check it out on the website. And just realised I almost missed a few. Let's take a look at this gorgeous Baltic. And here's the Baltic. Baltic really are making waves in the collector community, and you can see why once you get one in hand. The design and the finishing is just amazing. This is a Baltic HMS 002 silver sector dial, as we've called it. And inside here is the automatic Miyota caliber 821-A or 821A. You can see you've got an exhibition case back showing that movement. Personally, I'd prefer a closed case back, but you've got that option. And I think for new people getting into watches, it's nice for them to be able to see the movement, see what's powering it, look at it, watch it spin around, and sort of figuring out how it all works. I know I definitely did that. This one is from September 2019 and does come with its full box and paperwork as well, which is nice. It's original strap and buckle, as you can see, but the design is definitely the highlight here. That beautiful sector dial with those blue hands. They're not thermally blued, unfortunately, they are painted blued, but they just look really, really great. And you see you've got that flat polished bezel, which leads to the brushing of the case. Just a nice contrast to the design, and a big B signed crown as well. Push holes as well for the strap change, again making it very, very simple, very easy. But let's show it on wrist, because again, not just the design, but the proportions are what made it stand out. And here we go on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. So this is very well proportioned at 38mm. Thank you, Baltic. My 47mm lug to lug, only 12.5mm thick, which is very good for these Miyotas because they end up being quite thick most of the time. And 20mm lugs, beautifully proportioned, perfect for the modern era, with that sort of vintage design. So go check it out. And last but certainly not least, let's look at these two Seiko Fives, or the 5KXs as they're known, together. And last but not least, we have two Seiko Five, or Seiko Sports. There's loads of different nicknames for it. I call them the 5KX, which is what they're most commonly known as, because the 5 is very similar to an S, and the SKX is what these are based on, the old Seiko that everyone knows and loves, but this is sort of like their modded version, basically, that they brought out. Not as water resistant, doesn't have the ISO certification that the SKX had, which some people really hate on these for. To be honest, I don't go diving, so I don't really care. So for me, the design is what makes these stand out. On the left, the all black Seiko SKX or 5KX is the SRPD 79K1. This one's from 2021, and it does come with its box. It doesn't come with any paperwork, unfortunately, but a really, really interesting design. And on the right over here, you have what is basically like a gunmetal case. Not quite as black as the case on this one, but more of a gunmetal with that green and the textured green dial. Really, really cool. This is the SRPD 77K1. This one does come with its full box and papers, and is again from 2021. In terms of what's inside these, they both have the 4R36, which is a very reliable Seiko movement. And dimensions, they're both 42.5mm by 46mm lug to lug, only 13mm thick and 22mm lugs right now, both paired on their original NATOs, but you can definitely get different strap options for these. Let me show you the black one on wrist to give you sort of an idea of size. And here we go. I've not tucked the NATO in, but you get an idea on wrist. Very, very comfortable. Whilst they are quite big, again, they come under that 50mm lug to lug, so they wear very compact on the wrist, just wide. Definitely a modern sort of watch. The all black, I really like it. I've had it a couple of times personally, and I think they just look great. So go check them out. And they're both very affordable at under £200. So there you have it, guys and girls. That is this week's drop. I really do hope you enjoy. As usual, head over to the website. You can see all the details and everything you need to know of each watch you see here. Even if it's sold, all the information is still there, obviously, other than the price and the ability to purchase. So if you are just interested in looking at the photos, the macros, reading our description, seeing what the sizes are, everything like that, do go check that out. We try and give you as much information in a short period of time, but without giving you too much, because we want want to give you a reason to go over to the website kibblewatches.co.uk. As usual, if you have a watch you would like to sell, head over to the website, click on the sell button. Super simple. It's a nice and easy form. We get back to you usually within 24 to 48 hours. If it takes us a little bit longer, do bear with us, but also just send us a little reminder. And finally, last bit is just please, as always, stick to one platform. Again, I find myself saying it every week, but please just stick to one platform. If you're messaging me on WhatsApp, stay on WhatsApp. If you're on Instagram, stay on Instagram. It just gets confusing otherwise. So thank you very much for your understanding. And we all hope you're doing well and keeping well and everything like that. And lockdown's nearly over, or so we think. So fingers crossed, and we will see you all next time. Take care.